Reprogram your mind for growth. Introduction. Hello and welcome to Lingua Sync, the podcast where we explore the language of the mind and how reshaping your inner dialogue can transform the way you live and learn. I'm Jamie Walker, and today we're diving into a topic that is both deeply personal and incredibly practical: how to reprogram your mind. Your thoughts are not always your own. Many of them were installed by family, school, society, or even past experiences. Think about it. You weren't born afraid, doubtful, or hesitant. These patterns were taught, repeated, and reinforced until they became your mental default. But just like software on a computer, your mental code can be updated, replaced, and strengthened. Over the course of this episode, I'll walk you through 14 powerful rules that can help you rewrite old patterns and install new ones. Each rule is simple enough to practice daily, but strong enough to reshape your perspective over time. So whether you're listening to improve your mindset, strengthen your habits, or even sharpen your English, stay with me, because by the end of this session, you'll have a practical toolkit for lasting change. Rule 1. Decide what you truly want. Every journey begins with direction, and your mind is no different. If you imagine your brain as a GPS, then your goals are the destination. Without a clear address, the system cannot guide you anywhere. It simply loops in circles. This is why so many people feel stuck. They have energy, they have desire, but they lack clarity about where they truly want to go. A vague wish rarely moves you forward, but a clear vision pulls you with strength. The challenge is that most people only say what they think they should want, not what they deeply value. When asked about their future, they respond with general phrases: "I want to do better," or "I just want to be happy." But these statements are too broad for the mind to follow. Your subconscious listens carefully to detail. It thrives on specificity and repetition. The clearer the picture you paint, the easier it becomes for your thoughts and actions to align with it. So, instead of saying, "I want to improve my life," create a statement like, "I want to build an online income of $2,000 a month, travel once a year, and support my family." Notice how this kind of clarity sparks direction and energy. It gives your brain something concrete to work toward. When your vision is sharp, your actions naturally gain focus. Decide what you truly want, write it in one clear sentence, and repeat it daily. That single act of clarity can become the anchor for everything else you build. Rule 2. Break the default pattern. Most people live their days on repeat, following the same patterns without even realizing it. Wake up, check the phone, scroll endlessly, worry, procrastinate, feel guilty, and then repeat the cycle the next day. This rhythm is not proof of weakness, it is proof of how much the mind craves comfort. Comfort feels safe, but it also prevents growth. Breaking the cycle begins with interrupting the automatic choices that no longer serve you. Change does not require huge, dramatic steps. It begins with small but deliberate actions that shock your mind into a new rhythm. Wake up half an hour earlier, write down a single goal, take a short walk without your phone, or start the day with a cold shower. These simple choices tell your brain, "I am not stuck in yesterday's pattern." Each small act of disruption creates space for new energy and direction. The key is to remember that patterns build over time, and so do new ones. Just as old routines slowly locked you into autopilot, new routines will gradually free you from it. Every time you break a default pattern, you remind yourself that change is possible and available right now. Over weeks and months, these small choices compound, shaping a life that feels intentional instead of repetitive. Rule 3. Eliminate limiting beliefs. A belief is not always the truth. It is often just a thought repeated so many times that the mind accepts it as reality. Statements like, "I'm not smart enough," or "I always fail" feel convincing, not because they are factual, but because they have been rehearsed endlessly in your head. The danger is that beliefs act like invisible scripts, guiding your behavior and quietly defining what you think is possible. To move forward, you must first recognize which beliefs are holding you back. The process of eliminating limiting beliefs follows 3 simple steps. Identify, question, and replace. First, catch the exact words of the belief. Second, challenge it by asking, "Is this really true? Do I have evidence?" Third, write a replacement that empowers rather than restricts. For instance, replace "I can't learn this skill" with "I am learning step by step each day." Over time, repetition of the new thought weakens the old code until it fades. History is full of examples of broken beliefs. For years, people believed no one could run a mile in under 4 minutes, until Roger Bannister proved otherwise. Once the belief was shattered, many others achieved the same within months. The same applies to your personal life. Once you break a limiting belief, you open the door to new possibilities. Every rewritten belief is a new line of mental code that shapes a stronger, freer version of yourself. Rule 4. Program your inputs. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant in it, it will grow. If you constantly feed it with negativity, complaints, or fear, you will naturally harvest anxiety and self-doubt. But if you feed it with knowledge, inspiration, and meaningful conversations, it will begin to produce clarity and confidence. The quality of your thoughts is often a reflection of the quality of the inputs you allow into your daily life. Think about what you consume every day: news, social media, conversations, podcasts, books. These inputs shape your mental environment as much as food shapes your body. If your daily diet is filled with drama, gossip, and endless comparison, you should not be surprised when your mind feels restless. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with uplifting books, positive communities, and conversations that challenge you to grow, your mental state will gradually shift in that direction. This doesn't mean you need to cut yourself off from reality or avoid all negative information. It simply means becoming intentional with what you let in and how much space you give it. Choose to spend more time with resources that expand your perspective and less with those that drain your energy. Over time, your mind will naturally start producing better thoughts because it is being fueled by better inputs. Remember, what goes in consistently will eventually come out. Rule 5. Rewire pain. Pain is often seen as an enemy, something to escape or suppress. But pain itself is not the problem. It is a signal, a form of information. It tells you when something is off, when something needs attention, or when you've stepped into unfamiliar territory. Instead of resisting it or labeling it as purely negative, you can learn to reinterpret pain as a guide. This shift changes pain from a burden into a teacher. Rewiring pain begins with asking new questions. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" Or "How can this make me stronger?" Pain can either close you down or open you up, depending on how you frame it. Every challenge, whether it's rejection, failure, or loss, carries lessons that cannot be found in comfort. By looking for meaning in discomfort, you turn it into fuel for growth. Of course, this doesn't mean pretending pain feels pleasant. It means giving it a new role in your story. Athletes train their bodies to endure discomfort because they understand it builds endurance and skill. In the same way, you can train your mind to view emotional or mental pain as practice for resilience. Each time you reframe pain, you weaken its power to control you. With repetition, pain stops being a roadblock and starts becoming a stepping stone. Rule 6. Talk to yourself like you matter. The way you speak to yourself creates the atmosphere you live in every day. If your inner voice is filled with criticism, doubt, or harsh judgment, it becomes much harder to take action or feel motivated. Many people say things to themselves that they would never say to a friend, yet they tolerate this constant negativity within. Over time, that inner dialogue shapes how you see yourself and how you approach the world. Treating yourself with respect starts with adjusting that voice. Talking to yourself like you matter does not mean ignoring mistakes or pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing your humanity and choosing words that encourage growth rather than crush it. For example, instead of saying, "I always fail at this," you might say, "This is challenging, but I am learning step by step." That small shift in language turns your self-talk into a tool for progress rather than a weapon against yourself. Words, even unspoken ones, carry real weight. One helpful method is the best friend rule. Ask yourself, if my best friend were in this situation, how would I speak to them? You would probably offer patience, kindness, and support. Now imagine giving yourself that same treatment. At first, it may feel unfamiliar, but over time it builds a stronger inner foundation. When your inner voice becomes your ally instead of your critic, you create an environment where growth feels not only possible, but natural. Rule 7. Visualize the outcome. Your brain responds strongly to images, whether they come from reality or imagination. When you visualize a future outcome with clarity, your mind begins to treat it as something possible, even probable. Athletes, performers, and leaders often rehearse their desired results in vivid detail before they ever step onto the field or stage. This mental practice helps reduce fear, sharpen focus, and prepare the body to follow the mind's lead. Visualization is not daydreaming, it is purposeful mental training. The key is to create images that are specific and emotionally engaging. Instead of simply thinking, "I want to do well," imagine yourself walking confidently into the room, speaking with clarity, and feeling calm as you finish what you set out to do. Add as many senses as possible, hear the sound of your voice, feel the weight of the moment, see the expressions around you. The more detail you add, the more your mind accepts this image as familiar. Familiarity reduces fear and builds confidence. You can practice visualization daily, even for just a few minutes. Close your eyes, take a breath, and picture the exact outcome you're aiming for. Repeat it often enough, and your brain begins to adjust your actions naturally to match the image. Over time, you start moving in alignment with the vision you've created, almost like following a mental map. When your inner world is clear, your outer actions become more consistent with that clarity. Rule 8. Meditate to regain control. In a world that constantly demands attention, your mind can easily feel scattered and restless. Meditation offers a way to pause, slow down, and regain control over that inner chaos. It is not about emptying your thoughts completely, but about observing them without being carried away. Even a few minutes of daily meditation can help you step back from automatic reactions and approach situations with more calmness. It gives your mind the same reset that rest gives your body. The practice itself can be simple. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Each time your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back to the rhythm of inhaling and exhaling. That act of returning is where the real training happens. Over time, this habit teaches you that thoughts do not control you. You can notice them, let them pass, and choose where to place your attention. Meditation also helps reduce the grip of negative thinking by creating distance between you and your inner dialogue. Instead of reacting instantly, you learn to watch your thoughts with perspective, almost like clouds moving across the sky. Some days the practice feels easier, other days more challenging, but consistency is what matters most. With time, meditation becomes less of an exercise and more of a mindset, a steady reminder that you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. Rule 9. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to shift your state of mind. When you focus on what you already have, it becomes harder for negative thoughts to dominate your perspective. You cannot hold a thought of deep appreciation and a thought of resentment at the same time. The mind must choose. This is why gratitude works like a natural filter, reducing stress and helping you notice the good that often gets overlooked. Practicing gratitude does not require grand gestures or rare opportunities. It can begin with the smallest details, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, a kind word from a colleague, or the comfort of a quiet moment. By pausing to acknowledge these small gifts, you train your brain to look for what is working instead of what is missing. Over time, this shift builds resilience because your attention naturally returns to what uplifts you rather than what drains you. One practical way to develop this habit is through a daily ritual, such as writing down 3 things you are thankful for each morning or evening. Some people keep a gratitude journal, while others simply reflect silently before starting the day. The method doesn't matter as much as the consistency. What matters is making gratitude part of your routine, so it becomes a default lens through which you view the world. With practice, gratitude turns ordinary moments into reminders of abundance. Rule 10. Review your goals every morning. Each day begins with a choice. Will you guide your mind, or will you let it wander aimlessly? Reviewing your goals every morning acts like setting the compass before you start the journey. It reminds you of what matters most and prevents you from being pulled in 100 different directions. Without this daily reminder, it's easy to spend the day reacting to circumstances instead of moving with intention. A few minutes of focus in the morning can set the tone for the entire day. The practice doesn't have to be complicated. Write your goals in a notebook, on a digital note, or even on sticky notes placed where you can see them. Read them aloud, visualize them, and let the words anchor your attention. Repetition creates reinforcement. The more often you revisit your goals, the more naturally your thoughts and actions align with them. Over time, this habit strengthens your sense of direction and keeps distractions from taking over. Think of this as checking your GPS before starting a long trip. If you fail to review the map, you may drift off course without realizing it. But when you start every day by reviewing your goals, you're less likely to get lost in noise and more likely to stay on track. The clarity you build in those first few minutes becomes the guiding thread that carries you through challenges and choices. Each day you review your goals, you are reminding yourself of where you are heading and why it matters. Rule 11. Plan your day like a CEO. Every organization runs more smoothly when there is a plan, and the same applies to your personal life. A CEO does not begin the day by randomly reacting to emails or distractions. They start with a clear agenda. In the same way, planning your day with intention ensures that your energy is invested where it matters most. Without a plan, it's easy to spend hours on minor tasks while neglecting what could truly move you forward. A structured plan turns time into a resource rather than a burden. Begin by identifying your top 3 priorities for the day. Those tasks that will create the greatest impact if completed. Write them down and commit to working on them before smaller, less important tasks take over. This approach prevents the trap of being busy but not effective. When you treat your time with the same respect a leader treats company resources, you begin to see progress more clearly. Each day becomes less about reacting and more about creating. Of course, flexibility is part of any good plan. Unexpected situations will arise and not everything will go exactly as scheduled. But by setting a structure, you give yourself a foundation to return to whenever you are pulled off track. Planning your day like a CEO doesn't mean rigid control. It means leading your hours with vision and intention. And when you consistently lead your day, instead of being led by it, life begins to feel more purposeful and balanced. Rule 12. Upgrade your environment. Your environment shapes your mindset more than you might realize. The spaces you live and work in, the people you interact with, and even the media you consume quietly influence your thoughts and energy. If your surroundings are cluttered, noisy, or filled with negativity, it becomes harder to think clearly and stay motivated. On the other hand, when your environment feels supportive and uplifting, it naturally encourages focus and growth. The atmosphere you create is a reflection of the future you are moving toward. Upgrading your environment doesn't require dramatic changes. Small adjustments can make a big difference. Organizing your desk, surrounding yourself with books that inspire, or limiting exposure to negative conversations. Choose to spend more time in places that make you feel energized rather than drained. Seek out communities and people who encourage your development instead of holding you back. Each small upgrade strengthens the foundation on which your thoughts and habits are built. Think of yourself as both the architect and the gardener of your environment. As an architect, you design spaces with intention. As a gardener, you nurture what grows around you. The more deliberate you are in shaping your surroundings, the more naturally positive habits take root. A supportive environment doesn't remove challenges, but it makes facing them easier. By upgrading where you live, work, and connect, you are essentially upgrading the quality of your inner life as well. Rule 13. Master repetition. Repetition is the foundation of mastery. Whatever you repeat consistently, whether it's a thought, an action, or a habit, eventually becomes part of who you are. This is why both positive and negative patterns can feel so natural. They've simply been practiced enough to feel automatic. Your brain builds pathways like trails in the forest. The more often you walk them, the clearer and stronger they become. Repetition is how temporary actions turn into lasting identity. The challenge is that most people underestimate the power of small, repeated efforts. They expect transformation to come from one big moment, when in reality it comes from steady practice. Reading one page a day may not feel significant, but reading one page daily for a year means finishing an entire book. The same is true with exercise, learning, or building confidence. Consistency may seem ordinary, but over time it produces extraordinary results. To master repetition, choose the habits that align with the person you want to become and commit to them daily. Start small enough that you can maintain the practice without excuse. 5 minutes of writing, 10 push-ups, or a short meditation. Once the habit feels natural, gradually expand it. Each repetition reinforces the pattern until it becomes as natural as breathing. When you master repetition, you stop relying on motivation and begin relying on identity, because the habit has become part of you. Rule 14. Act before you feel ready. One of the biggest traps in life is waiting for the perfect moment. Many people delay action because they believe they need more preparation, more confidence, or more certainty before starting. But the truth is, those feelings rarely arrive on their own. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you build through action. If you keep waiting until you feel ready, you may never take the first step at all. Acting before you feel ready is about trusting the process rather than waiting for guarantees. When you move forward despite doubt, you train your mind to see that fear is not fatal, it's simply part of growth. Every step you take gives you feedback, teaches you lessons, and builds resilience. Even if the outcome isn't perfect, you're still further ahead than if you had stayed still. Movement creates clarity, while hesitation only feeds uncertainty. Think of readiness as something that grows with momentum. The more you act, the more capable you feel. And the more capable you feel, the more prepared you become. This cycle only begins when you take that first imperfect step. So, when doubt whispers, "You're not ready yet," remind yourself that readiness is built, not found. By acting before you feel ready, you create opportunities that hesitation would have stolen. Final thoughts. Reprogramming your mind is not about chasing perfection. It's about choosing awareness and direction each day. Old habits and limiting beliefs may still try to appear, but they no longer have to control you once you recognize them. Every time you pause, question a thought, and choose a better response, you are strengthening a new pathway in your brain. These small, deliberate choices accumulate over time, gradually shaping the way you think, feel, and act. Remember that growth does not arrive in one dramatic moment. It shows up in the quiet consistency of daily practices, the words you repeat to yourself, the habits you protect, and the environment you build. Even on days when progress feels invisible, your mind is still learning and adapting. Trust that the effort you invest in guiding your thoughts is never wasted. It is preparing you for the challenges and opportunities ahead. Ultimately, your mind is both the stage and the storyteller of your life. You cannot always control what happens around you, but you can always influence the meaning you give it. By applying these principles, you create a mental script that supports rather than sabotages you. The power to reprogram your thoughts is already in your hands. You simply have to use it, one choice and one day at a time. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of LinguaSync. We've explored 14 powerful rules for reprogramming the mind, each one a small but meaningful step toward reshaping the way you think, act, and experience the world. Remember, change doesn't happen in one grand leap. It's built in the quiet moments, through daily choices that gradually shape who you are becoming. If today's episode gave you something to reflect on, I'd love to hear your perspective. Take a moment to share in the comment section which of these rules resonated most with you and how you plan to apply it in your own life. Your reflections might not only strengthen your understanding, but also inspire someone else listening to this very episode. Think of the comments as a shared conversation, not just feedback. By adding your voice, you're helping to create a community of people who are learning, growing, and supporting one another. So don't just listen. Write your thoughts, share your reflections, and let's continue building this journey together. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Jamie Walker, and this has been LinguaSync. Until next time, stay mindful, stay curious, and keep reprogramming your mind for the life you truly want.